Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, OnPay. Without them, we couldn't be sharing these stories. Today on Atlanta Business Radio, we have Stacie Francombe with Sign Greeters. Welcome, Stacie.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks for having me.
Well, before we get too far into things, tell us about Sign Greeters. How are you serving folks?
Sure. So we are a franchise across the country, but based in Atlanta, Georgia. We've got 42 locations all over the country. And in Atlanta, we've got about 10 locations. So from north, south, east, and west, basically Sign Greeters delivers very large yard signs for all celebrations and occasions and events to people who order on our website and have a birthday, an anniversary, even holidays coming up. We do signs for basically any occasion that people are celebrating. It's a big sort of yard greeting, if you will, for your celebrations. So
how'd you get into this line of work?
Oh, well, right when the pandemic started, unfortunately, like many other people, millions of other people across the country, I was laid off at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. My background is just, starting and launching businesses and selling and growing businesses. So at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was laid off, like millions of Americans, I was really looking for a new opportunity to create really something that would help people who were in my position, either recently laid off or furloughed or looking, for people to gain sort of employment, if you will. And so with my college roommate, she's down in South Florida. She was also looking for her next opportunity. We decided to start Sign Greeters. So we, as I said, have been able to build up the franchise model, and people who were maybe laid off from, Delta Airlines or furloughed from an airline, or wedding planners who are looking for a way to pivot in the economy, have joined. And so not only are we helping people find gainful employment by joining Sign Greeters, but also bringing happiness and smiles to people in a time where it's not really a happy time for many people right now with the pandemic. So when we put yard signs out there for celebrations, it's not only helping the people who are celebrating, but really it's for the whole neighborhood. They get to enjoy it, and passerbyers always smile and say what a great job and how happy it makes people. So really that's how we got into it, and started back in about June, end of May, beginning of June, and have just really grown since then for the past 6 months.
So how did you get the idea of these kind of large signs? Like, what was the genesis of the original idea?
Yeah, so my business partner down in South Florida had actually ordered one for her son, and I had ordered one here for my son's graduation. And unfortunately, they were all sold out. I couldn't find any company in town to be able to deliver to me for my son's graduation. I have a friend and colleague that I've worked with for years who owns a sign manufacturing business in Atlanta. And so I reached out to him and I said, listen, if I start this, are you able to fulfill my orders, if we start growing? And realizing kind of the demand was there because people are stuck at home and not having large parties outside of their home anymore. So along with the manufacturer and my new business partner in South Florida, we kind of grew from there and realized, okay, well, if everybody's sold out, there's definitely a demand for it.
So was the intention always to franchise, or was that something that came about after you saw how much demand there was?
No, really right from the beginning. Again, just based on my entrepreneur background, right from the beginning, I knew that I wanted to own some territories here in Atlanta locally and keep, certain zip codes around where I live. I've got 3 teenagers, and I knew that this would be a great way for them to learn how to be, run a business and have employment opportunities as well. So I wanted to keep a territory, and my business partner, Yvonne, also wanted to keep a territory down in South Florida. But just based on the research and looking at the competitive landscape, we did know early on that we wanted to build this out as a licensing model and eventually move into a franchise model.
So you started out licensing and then moved into franchising?
Yeah, exactly. So we are in the process of transitioning from licensing to franchising now, which is going to take a couple months. But everybody we have on board right now are all based, are licensees right now.
And then, so was that part of the strategy all along? You knew that you were going to eventually get to franchising, but you were going to take these kind of formative steps?
Yeah, we worked with our legal team early on, and we kind of laid out our path. And we said, when we get to a certain threshold, this is the path we'd like to go on. None of us expected that it was going to happen this quickly. We thought it would be, a year or two into the process. But when we grew as quickly as we did, and we had so many people all over the country from, the West Coast to the Midwest to the South joining us, we realized very quickly that this is the path we need to move into, switching from a license to a franchise model.
Now, how did you kind of attract these folks from around the country for something that was only in South Florida and Atlanta?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lee. So my background, I've been in the wedding and event industry for years. I used to host a national TV show and created a magazine for brides across the country. So I had a pretty robust following of people in the wedding and event industry. And so the initial contacts that we made and people who joined us were people that I had known from my previous kind of life in the wedding and event industry. So as I said, we have photographers who were recently looking to pivot. We have wedding planners, one in Illinois, one in Atlanta. And really kind of the kickstart to everything was people in the wedding and event industry. Along with that, we had some family and friends. So my business partner, Yvonne, had some close friends in South Florida that joined us. My mom ended up opening one in Sarasota, Florida. So it was kind of family, friends, and then my sort of wedding industry colleagues and people I had known and done business with over the years who joined initially. And then we hired a SEO and SEM firm here in Atlanta that we work with very closely, and they created a very robust strategy for us to do paid search and a pretty aggressive SEO strategy as well, which is where the rest of our licensees were able to locate us through Facebook, through Instagram, and through Google Ads as well.
So now, how does a licensee or franchisee kind of go about drumming up business in their local market?
Yeah, so a lot of what we provide our licensees, our owners, is a pretty good marketing kit for them. My background is marketing, so I'm able to give them a variety of local tools to be able to drum up business and to kind of grow in each of their markets. I teach a seminar to them about how to get published and get on TV. I give them graphics every month that are branded to be able to utilize on social. I do a lot of training with them on their Google My Business accounts so that they can update and maintain their reviews and their photographs, which is a lot of where our business comes from. And then, of course, give them training and tools on how to utilize social to gain following. We do have one national account through Sign Greeters on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that. But everybody does have their own individual personal accounts. And so if they post properly and they're showing, images of their signs and what a great job their signs, how great they look and how different they look from our competitors, that really helps them stand out. So we do have a good toolkit that we give to our licensees to be able to support in their local efforts. In addition to that, we also recommend that they go and form strategic partnerships in their area. We'll do all the national marketing for them, but the local marketing comes from, the relationships they build with their local schools, their PTOs, their synagogues, the churches, the hospitals. So a lot of owners go around and do free signs to begin with, to forge those partnerships and relationships to be able to then go back and, if you partner with the PTO and you've got a great sign up for, Merry Christmas, then of course all the parents at that school are going to see it. So we give them a lot of tips and tricks. We have monthly meetings with all of our owners. And of course, Yvonne and I are there every step of the way to support them and help them grow their business to be successful.
And then for that licensee or franchisee in the local market, is this something that they're doing kind of exclusively now, or is this something that augments their existing business that they have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a pretty good mix of owners some are still working. So we have one who is a police officer, in South Carolina, and she's getting ready to retire in a year. So she's still working full time. We have a professor in South Atlanta who is still working full time. And then we have kind of the other side of it, which are people who have been laid off or, looking to pivot in their existing business. But we do have a pretty good mix of people. I know some of the people who thought they would go back to their full-time job realize, you know what, I'm so busy, I'm so successful with this, I don't need to go back to my full-time job. But, another gal who just joined us from South Florida, she's, a technician, an X-ray technician, and she loves her job and she just, wants to continue supporting, she's a breast cancer survivor. So she wants to continue supporting, that role. And she worked really hard to get into that role and lots of schooling. So this is kind of like a side, business for her. And she just loves bringing happiness to people. So I think you're going to find a mix as we continue to grow, but really it's all what you make of it. You can be as busy as you want to be, or, turn down signs and do it part-time for sure.
Now, I would imagine you could do it part-time because isn't a lot of their work, kind of the installation of it, done like in the evening to surprise the person, where it isn't like during normal business hours, or it could be whenever?
Yeah. So that, again, great question, Lee. So we are a little different from our competition. We offer all sorts of times for delivery. Some people love to have it delivered at night so that it's there in the morning when the recipient wakes up. And some people actually like to have it in the morning and have it for that extra time. So it depends on the age of the recipient. It depends on what's available and what's booked. But we don't really corner our clients into, a time frame that it has to be between these hours. Personally, in my territory, I offer morning delivery, which is a pretty big window of 6 a.m. To 10 a.m. And then I also offer an evening delivery time, which is like 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course, if somebody calls me and says, hey, I need this delivered at 2 o'clock, I'm going to go do that. But yes, if you do have a full-time job and you only want to deliver either morning or at night, you absolutely can make that happen. The one thing about that I always tell our licensees is there is a lot of prep time that goes into these signs. You've got to be able to pull your inventory, organize your inventory, make sure you've got the right letters, pull your graphics, stars, and balloons. So it takes a lot of time to do that. And I think some people, forget that part of it, that the prep time is really a big part of running the business, along with the customer service. You have to be able to, communicate efficiently and effectively with your clients, so that they know, they might not have ever ordered a sign before. So what time are you showing up and what do I need to do to prepare my lawn? And there's a lot of the communication tools that we provide to them through our website portal, but it's also sending invoices and making sure that they're giving you a good review. And a lot of this business is repeat customers. So there's definitely that customer service that we train and we instill in all of our owners.
So now, what is the most successful franchisee or licensee you've had thus far? Like anybody kind of knocking it out of the park early?
Yeah, we've had a lot. We actually had an owners meeting this week, and we give out what's called the Brutus Award every month to a different owner. Ivan and I are both Ohio State alums, so Brutus is kind of like our mascot, the bird that sits on top of some of our letters. And the Brutus Award this month went to one of our licensees who recouped her initial investment within less than 3 months. So we were really proud of her, and she was excited about that. There are a lot of really, really busy owners right now. Our gals in Ohio, they service Toledo and also I think it's like Southern Michigan area. They've done an incredible job growing their business. And last month they won the Brutus Award for the most reservations. I would say I'm probably the busiest one in Atlanta out of everybody, but there's also a gal who owns Roswell who keeps very busy. Our owner in South Georgia, or South Atlanta, I should say, Jamila, she is always busy. I feel like everybody sort of has done a really great job of growing their businesses very quickly. And a lot of that has to do with, like I said, the customer service and the way our signs look. People appreciate a good presentation. And this is going to sound really weird, but people love our font that our letters are in the shape of. And they love the fact that we customize all the signs with certain graphics. So, the fact that if it's your birthday and you love, fishing and horseback riding and golf and all that, we're going to customize it for you to have all that within your sign set. So people really love that. And that's a big piece of what separates us from the competition.
And then you said if somebody wants to run this kind of as a lifestyle business, they could do that. Or if they want to kill it and make this, build an empire, they can also do that as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really what you make of it. So in other words, this is my full-time gig right now, in addition to running all the licensee programs. I do up to 5 signs in the morning and up to 7 signs at night because I have my kids helping. So on a daily basis, if that business is coming in, I'm going to take it. It's very rare that I'll turn down business unless I just really don't have the inventory. But again, it's really, every owner can decide what they make of it based on how busy they want to be and how much business is coming in.
And then for here in Atlanta, are there territories still available?
There are, off the top of my head, I know for sure, because I'm the one servicing certain areas when business comes in that nobody can do. I would say Toco Hills, Emory area is an extremely popular area that I'm based in Sandy Springs, and it's very difficult for me to make it back and forth with all the signs I have in Sandy Springs and Dunwoody. But Toco Hills and Emory is a very popular area. We've done a ton of signs down there. The Highlands is also really, really popular because our competitors are not down there. So if someone wants to scoop up the Highlands and sort of Midtown area, that's a great location. Off the top of my head, those are the 2 big ones I can think of. I know Athens is still available. We have a contract pending in Athens and Savannah. But in terms of additional cities in Atlanta, off the top of my head, those are the ones that I can think of.
And then if somebody wanted to become a licensee or franchisee, what around is the franchise fee to get started?
So I'd rather not get into specifics because we do kind of customize each package for the owners based on the inventory that they get. So if anybody is interested in learning more about the licensee program, you can go to the website, which is signgreeters.com. And there's a Become an Owners tab. And you basically fill out a questionnaire and we get back to you from there. The truth of the matter is, Lee, we don't take every owner that comes on board. We don't take every licensee. We really go through a process of interviewing them and making sure that it's the right fit, making sure they understand kind of the requirements that it will take to run a successful business. So the best thing to do is just fill out the application, and then Yvonne and myself would be in touch. But it's all on the website. We've built a pretty robust website to be able to find all the information. Again, at signgreeters.com, and then I think it says let me just pull it up. Become an Owner is at the very top of the page.
And then the qualities of the ideal licensee or franchisee is what?
Somebody who is really looking to make a difference in people's lives, which I think is the most important and most impactful piece of this. All of our owners can tell you different stories of putting signs in people's yards and people coming out and crying, or passerbyers crying, or just smiling, from happiness. Somebody who's really looking to make an impact on their community and their neighborhood, because these signs really do bring huge smiles to people's faces, no matter who is the one receiving it. So that's really important. Somebody who understands how to, or the ins and outs of running a business. And if they don't know that, we're happy to teach and mentor them. But they have to be willing to learn. Somebody who is collaborative and a team player, but can still stand on their own, because we don't do absolutely everything for you. We do support in many ways, but I think that, if people are looking for a turnkey business that gives you the tools, really that's the type of person we're looking for.
And then I know you don't want to discuss price exactly, but this isn't something like a restaurant where it's going to require millions of dollars of assets order to pull this off.
No. So when we created it, again, it was to help people, find gainful employment. And so our barrier to entry is fairly minimal. Like our lawyers, every time, they're going through the paperwork and we're getting ready to move over to franchise, our barrier to entry is minimal. So you're talking less than $10,000 to get started. But I can share a range with you, it's a range around 500, but it just depends on what type of inventory you have, coming out of the gate. And some people want tons of inventory, and so they're higher, and less than 10,000 still though.
Right. I just want to give people an idea that this isn't It's not 6 figures or 7 figures where a lot of businesses to get started. This is probably 5 figures
and
or
we did that and we did that intentionally so that people could afford it, and people who were, furloughed or not getting a paycheck could still feel like, okay, this is an initial investment that I'm going to be able to recoup in X amount of months. And of course we don't guarantee anything, but we didn't want to get to that high level of, okay, give us, $25,000. And it wasn't about that. It was really about helping people find a great opportunity that can make a difference in their community and also make money and have a business out of it.
Well, congratulations on all the success. You're doing important work and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Lee. I appreciate you having us.
And then one more time, the website?
Signgreeters.com.
And then you can find using Sign Greeters in all the socials, I would imagine.
Yeah, all of our handles are at Sign Greeters. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all the good stuff is at Sign Greeters.
All right. Well, thank you, Stacie, for sharing your story.
Appreciate it.
This is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Atlanta Business Radio.
Today's episode of Atlanta Business Radio is brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com.